Welcome. Another week, another episode. Coach Phil here, high performance coach and entrepreneur. I am here today to talk to you about how to raise your standards. Okay, now you want to improve your life, you want to make this year work for you, you must raise your standards. Today, I was doing a training which was awesome, and after the training, I went for a meeting and I met this guy who I had coached about 3-4 years ago, and he was sitting at one of those good lounges in one of the top hotels in town. So I meet him and say, hey, how you doing, how's it going? He said, oh, it's going great, I'm doing this and that and that. He has almost doubled what he used to earn. He looks good, he's in great shape. I say, hey, tell me, so what is it, what has made a difference? You look different. He said, hey coach, you remember 4 years ago you told me I got to raise my standards, and that's exactly what I did. I was like, whoa, that's amazing, because the transformation was actually day and night. He's looking better, he's doing better. So I thought, hey, guess what? Maybe it's time to talk about raising your standards again and again. I got this from Tony Robbins 4 years ago, and it made a massive difference to my business at the time, and I think it is time to revisit it. So in this video, I want to share with you, why must you raise your standards? Number one, what are the consequences of raising your standards, and what areas should you look at for you to raise your standards? Because I tell you, the moment you raise your standards, everything changes. The moment you raise your standards, you're going to feel better, you're going to attract better business, you're going to have better output. Most importantly, life is going to be, much more enjoyable. Okay, so let's get into it. Why is it important? Hey, everything changes when you raise your standards. There's a saying that I follow which says, how you do anything is how you do everything. When you go to great companies that perform in a certain way, you notice that the way they do things is, if it is the way they keep time, the way they address the client, the way they show up for meetings, the way they discuss, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you raise your standards, then everything else has got to change. Now, guess what? Raising your standards means you're going to challenge yourself. And this is where the challenge is. You're going to have to challenge yourself to step up your game in everything that you do. Now, that has consequences, naturally, okay? What are those consequences? Number one, there are going to be a few people who are not going to get it, okay? So you're going to have to lose some of them. When I say lose, I don't mean, you won't talk to them again or whatever. No, they're just going to get uncomfortable because you've raised the standard. Why? You're looking to be better. You're looking to take your health to the next level. You're looking to take your finance to the next level. And there's certain people who are naturally uncomfortable with that, okay? And you have to be aware of that, okay? Now, if you raise your standard and people are a little bit negative about it, and they don't want to come with you, and they are pulling you a little bit back, it's okay. Because guess what? When you raise your standard to the next level, it is less crowded up here, okay? You're going to leave a lot of people at the bottom. But guess what? It's okay, because at the top, there's so many other quality people who are raising their standards, okay? So number one, be sure you might lose a few people. Number two, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's a consequence for raising your standards. Uncomfortable in two ways. Number one, uncomfortable because you're going to have to do things you haven't done before. You're going to have to go places you haven't done before. One of the things that this guy said to me is that, guess what? I started to hang out in places where there were people who I wanted to become. I said, tell me more. He says, yes, you see, I'm hanging out here. I'm not here to do anything specifically. I come here, I have a coffee, I sit for 2 hours, I read, but this is where I look at other people who are where I want to be. He has raised his standards. Now, was it uncomfortable before? Yes. Why? He didn't have a good suit. He didn't have the right clothes, but he pushed himself. Okay, so it's going to be uncomfortable. Next, one of the positive consequences is you're going to begin to enjoy your life a bit more. You're going to feel better when you raise your standards. When you look at the areas you have to raise your standards, you'll understand why. Most importantly, you will build momentum. Okay? One of the most important things you're going to do for yourself this year to appreciate what you're doing is the power of progress. The more you progress, the more you have momentum, the better you're going to feel, the more you're going to do. Okay? Remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. So, here we go. Here are the 4 or 5 areas, 4 areas that you have to look at in terms of raising your standard. Number one, you got to raise your standard in your health. Guess what? I talk about it all the time, every time, because it is important. You got to have extreme focus on your health. You cannot sustain your message if you're not healthy. You cannot sustain the message if you don't have stamina. You cannot sustain the message, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have the energy to outwork everybody else. Okay? Guess what? For you to get where you need to go, you got to put in the work. You got to work harder. You got to push longer hours. You're not going to be able to do that if you're not feeling vibrant. If you're not, one of the greatest killers of progress is if you're feeling tired, fatigued, unhealthy. Okay? That is a non-starter. And the moment you're feeling like that, nothing happens. Okay? Guess what? You're going to have to work on your health. What do we say? Raise your standard. One of the things that I decided this year is I'm going to be fitter than I've ever been before. Okay, I told one of my clients, or a good friend of mine, I told him, I'm going to be fitter than you 10 freaking times. Why? One of the ways to raise your standards is also announce to certain people who will hold you accountable. Now, Teller is freaking working out like crazy, and I'm working out like crazy. Why? Together we can get to the next level because we've decided we got to raise the standard. I have changed most of how I eat, what I eat. I am doing more intermittent fasting, okay? I am doing more vegetables. I am doing more green stuff. I am fueling the body intentionally with things that make me a much more better performer. Why? I'm raising the standards in my health. What are you going to do for your health? That's my challenge number one. Okay, you got to look at your meals, what you're putting into the system. You got to look at how much you're resting. You got to look at how much you're hydrating. Okay, now drinking water is boring, but guess what? It's important. You got to be hydrated to be able to perform at your best. Okay, next point that you have to work on in terms of raising your standard, you must raise the standards in the quality of output that you have, the quality of productivity that comes out of you. You got to raise the standard. You got to say, what am I producing now and how can I make it better? Let us say you work at, you're an accountant. You've been doing certain work in a certain frame of time and it has been of a certain quality. You got to raise it and say, how do I take that to the next level? Okay? What am I doing to provide my clients, my services to the next level? What am I doing for my sessions to make sure they are of a certain standard? You must raise your standards in terms of the quality of output. Then you will know that, I am progressing, I am growing. Right now, everything I'm doing, I'm thinking about how can I make it better? How can I make it world class? How can I be that kind of person who's producing that quality where the client says, that is fantastic, okay? You got to raise that. You got to think about, what am I focusing on? Number one. Number two, and most crucially, is you got to raise your standard in terms of how you manage your distractions. There's the biggest one, okay? Where, the world is so distracted right now, it's unbelievable. The quality of your work output is dependent on how much you can focus to produce that work. But you and me know you go to do something and then you have 3-4 tabs open up and then you're focusing on this and this. This multitasking stuff is actually taking away from the quality of output that you can put out there, okay? Find one thing, be the master of focus. Have that laser focus. You say, well, today I'm focusing on this for 1 hour, boom. No phone, nothing. Remember, the quality of your output determines the value that you're giving out. Most importantly, the value that people see you bring. Okay? So, be very, very deliberate. Raise your standards in terms of your distractions, in terms of your focus, and the quality of output. Next, number 3, you got to raise your standards in the way you relate. Both relations to business relations, intimate relations, everywhere else. The kind of relationships you have must improve, must go to the next level. Now, this is where it gets a little bit uncomfortable. Sometimes people are like, oh, coach, how can I raise my standards if I've got a person who's totally negative? Today I was teaching about energy vampires. One of the things you must do to improve, to take your standard to the next level, is look at the people you surround yourself with. This guy hangs out in a lounge of a top hotel because he's looking to surround himself with people who are positive, who are performing at that level. You got to think about the same thing. And say, okay, what am I surrounding myself with? One of the goals that I decided to do this year is that every month I must add one positive people in the circle of people that I surround myself with. Positive, and most importantly, they got to be at least better than me at something. Okay? And I am also slowly but surely pushing the people who do not add value to me out. When I say push them out, it doesn't mean that I won't talk to them because some of them are relatives or whatever. No, but that means that the time I spend with them is a little less. Most importantly, when I meet them, I come with a different energy. I come with joy and happiness and attempt to raise them, okay? Raise their energy because I want the quality of my relationships to be at that level. So I am looking to say, hey, in terms of my relationships, what am I doing to make sure that the people that I interact with are not only getting better because of the interaction, but I'm also getting better, okay? Then in terms of relationships as well, I want you to think about the environment. The way you work. I spend more time in my office on my own, listening, reading, and doing stuff like that because I know that is a quality environment. That gives me the ability to raise my standard. So when I get out to serve, I am at that level. What are you going to do? Sit down, write down. I gave the guys an exercise this one. I said, write down the 10 top people that you spend time with, okay? And then out of those, find out which ones are energy vampires and which ones are positive. Which ones add value to you, which ones make you better, which ones challenge you, and then which ones take energy away from you, okay? And ask yourself, can I change these people to be better people? Can I inspire them, or can I spend less time with them? The choice is yours, but you got to raise the standard in terms of relationships. Most importantly, you always have to have the right intentions when you get into relationships. This year, I'm raising the intention because I want to have relationships which are vibrant, which are, I went for this meeting at lunchtime. We had, a great conversation. We're talking, time went by. I was supposed to be there to pitch a deal. Before you knew it, guys were high-fiving. Boom. And I said, that was a great meeting. By the way, we almost forgot. Coach, you don't have to put anything. We're signing. We shall see you next week. I'm thinking, whoa. Why? Because I intended to raise the standard of my interactions from a relationship point of view. What are you going to do? Then number 4, you got to raise your standards in terms of your compassion. I was looking at a study of, why did I read this? Recently I was looking at the people who live the longest and the people who have the happiest lives. And one of the things, it is not the quality of work necessarily, it is not where you live, but one of the most important things, which was number 1 and number 2, was your ability to be compassionate. By actually not being compassionate as a feeling, but being compassionate as a doing, as an action. How much do you take to be able to, how much do you do in terms of compassion? How much do you make a difference to other people? How much do you go out and give? How much compassion do you have where you say, you know what, I anonymously pay for 2 people, I pay their fees and they don't know that I do it? How much do you do where you get your old stuff that somebody could use it? How much do you do in terms of volunteering? How much, one of the things that I'm raising standard in is me and my team are going to go, we have a place, a place where we have some orphans, and there's a great organization which looks after them. And last year we only went once. This year we're going 3 times. Why? We got to raise our standards in terms of not just talking about it, but doing. We want to raise our standards in terms of coaching these guys, in terms of giving them, a reason to want to raise their spirits. We don't just want to talk about compassion. We want to do. What are you going to do in terms of raising your compassion? Because in doing that, not only do you make create a totally different karma around you, you make a difference that is enjoyable in terms of progress. So, as usual, how you do anything is how you do everything. Change your life by raising your standards, and you will be ultimately happy at the end of the year because of the kind of progress that you'll have. And as usual, my friends, remember to share this. Remember to send it to somebody else who would benefit from it. Subscribe to our channel, and whatever you do, as I say every day, live strong, live with passion, and have the audacity, ladies and gentlemen, to live life on your own terms. I love you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.